Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, I'm going to be showcasing a powerful climbing team in the Great League Fantasy Cup, featuring a Pokemon that did get buffed this season, Shadow Alolan Sandslash. These battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, Jay Campbell, so many thanks for the battle submission. Ice Punch, Alolan Sandslash's bait move, does more damage this season, making a top meta threat just a bit scarier. Sandslash is on the lead for this team, and in back, Dragapult and Azumarill, which both can cover for Sandslash's weaknesses to fire and fighting. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and let's take a look at this very powerful team in the Great League Fantasy Cup. Hopping into the first match, picking up a bit of a tricky lead, Shadow Alolan Sandslash versus Weezing. In this meta, Weezing is almost always on Sludge and Overheat. A Sludge bait would do less than no damage, but an Overheat would be massive overkill, so it's a very tricky game to play out. The opponent is able to successfully Sludge bait, and now it's highly likely they're going to full send the Overheat. There's the shield from the Sandslash, and that proves to be a good one as it is going to be the Overheat. A nice overfarm by the Sandslash, looking to deliver a knockout with a Drill Run. Opponent is going to commit the shield. They farm up to the Overheat, but there's a switch out and a catch. Very nicely done, saving the energy on the Alolan Sandslash, because Alolan Sandslash's energy just goes absolutely everywhere in this cup. Opponent is going to match the Azumarill save switch with their own, and honestly, this works out pretty nicely, because shields are down, so ideally you want to try and neutralize the opposing Azumarill as much as you possibly can, and then hopefully try and get an energy advantage on Dragapult later in the game. Dragapult is another Pokemon that is absolutely terrific in this meta. There's just nothing that resists Ghost basically in this format, so that means that Astonish is going to be hitting hard in just about every single situation. Play roughs exchanged by both these Azumarills. We do know that the opponent does win the CMP tie, and they're going to play for it. So the opponent is going to be able to pick up a knockout here as they go for the play rough. In comes Alolan Sandslash. Sandslash going to look to massively overfarm, building up to an Ice Punch plus a Drill Run, and due to the extra damage from Ice Punch this season, Ice Punch will actually KO. In the back is Turtonator, a quick switch to Dragapult. It's going to be a race to the charge move, and Dragapult winning the CMP tie over Turtonator, gets the land up breaking swipe, and just like that, the Turtonator has basically lost all of its remaining HP. Dragon Pulse picks up the KO, Sandslash gets a farm down, and leaves with the Drill Run. Sandslash is just such a beast in this cup. Drill Run knocks out the Weezing, and that's a good game. Hopping into the next match, Sandslash versus Registeel. Now that's a Pokemon I haven't seen in quite some time, but in a meta where Azumarill is as common as it is, I think Registeel does make some sense. Registeel is going to be immediately met with a Drill Run, and they're more than happy to let this go and just try and force a shield advantage. Alolan Sandslash will commit the shield as the opponent is going to fire off the Focus Blast. The Shadow Claws do add up here, but it will not be enough for the Sandslash to farm down. Sandslash will need to expend energy going for the Drill Run. We do see the shield by the opponent, a quick switch to the Dragapult, and they actually throw energy on the Dragapult. Dragapult is very, very glassy. Look at that, a resistant Zap Cannon does almost all of its health. In comes Excadrill, and Excadrill, after getting the Mud Slap down, is in turn now going to get farmed down by Azumarill. Azumarill, oh, that's a Scorching Sands Excadrill. I was going to say they're going to go for a Drill Run, but they actually go for a Scorching Sands. You definitely want to run Drill Run on Excadrill. In the back is going to be their own Azumarill, but this should still be a pretty decent spot here for Jay, as Jay still has so much health available on the Alolan Sandslash. And if I remember correctly, that Registeel threw a move, so they're not going to have much of any residual energy. This Azumarill is farming up so much, they're forced to finally fire off a charge attack. Ice Beam will deliver a knockout. Oh, they actually go for a play rough there. And now in comes the Sandslash. Sandslash farming up quite a bit, going to respect a potential Hydro Pump from the opponent. Do they have it? No, they do not. It is just going to be a play rough. There's a switch out into the Registeel there. It looks like tried to throw a move on the Registeel, but it didn't actually register. But either way, I mean, this game's over. The opponent not close to a move on that Azumarill, so Drill Run is going to deliver a knockout, and that's a good game. Hopping into the next match, leading the Alolan Sandslash, and now it's into Skarmory. Steel Wings will actually add up here quite a bit, as they do hit for neutral. Now, Steel Wing did have its energy generation nerfed, but it still outputs a ton of damage. There's a sick catch from the opponent. The perfect prediction there, catching the Ice Punch onto Azumarill. But if you're Jay, you can get some very nice chip damage and then look to mirror with your own Azumarill. So going to fire off the Drill Run. Opponent actually does commit the shield. Look at a switch into the Azumarill, and there it is. Very nicely done, rebanking some energy in the process. Play rough, not going to do a whole lot of damage. So the opponent makes a very nice catch, but Jay able to get a catch right back. The switch timers are very misaligned. And right on cue, there is the Skarmory as it re-enters the field of play. Skarmory, again, incredibly slow to get to its charge moves. Ice Beam is going to connect. Skarmory able to finally get there, and a very easy no-shield for the Azumarill. Opponent goes for a Sky Attack that will not be enough to knock out. Now they're going to get hit with Ice Beam number 2. This will be getting them very low. We see a quick switch to Dragapult. Dragapult takes advantage of Skarmory's extremely slow pacing to get an energy lead. In comes Azumarill, and Azumarill is not an answer to an up energy Dragapult. Dragapult just has insane neutral play into this meta. Shadow Ball picks up the KO, and that's just instantly game over. It's Turtonator. But with an Alolan Sandslash in the lead, you have to have stuff in the back that beats fire. So the opponent, the moment they saw the Sandslash lead, must have known they were going to be in some serious trouble here, as now the Dragapult just gets to absolutely destroy this poor Turtonator. And it looks like the opponent ends up force closing the app in frustration, and that's a 2-shield flex for Dragapult. The next match is going to be Shadow Alolan Sandslash versus Azumarill, and this definitely, to me, feels like the most common meta matchup that you're going to see. Nearly every team is going to have an Azumarill, so being comfortable playing out this matchup is definitely a must. The opponent is going to farm quite a bit. They do build up to a potential Hydro Pump. The shield from the Sandslash proves to be a good one. It is the Hydro Pump. Opponent safe switches into a Alolan Dugtrio. That's going to be met with Azumarill. Oh no, it looks like Jay's Wi-Fi is dying mid-battle. He quickly turns off the Wi-Fi to reconnect to the battle. Azumarill looking for the farm down, but unfortunately Dugtrio says no. Dugtrio makes the Mud Bomb. That gets the Azumarill low. Azumarill gets the farm down with 1 HP remaining. I can't even see the health bar on that Azumarill. But Azumarill gets to actually throw this energy due to that clutch 1 HP survive. Play Rough is going to land, getting the Azumarill deep into the red. In the back, it's Galarian Weezing, and Weezing down this much energy is absolutely cooked. Shadow Alolan Sandslash going for the Ice Punch bait, getting the bait immediately, going for a second bait here. Oh, this would be devastating if it's shielded, and it is. We're going to see a switch out into the Dragapult as the opponent fires off their energy. It is going to be a Sludge Bait. That's not going to do much of anything. These Fairy Winds add up so much, though. Dragapult is very, very frail. Another Sludge from the Weezing is going to get this Dragapult very low. Opponent sends in a Azumarill. Azumarill gets farmed down, and they just top left immediately. They know they made a very large mistake by switching out. Bad lead in the next match, leading the Alolan Sandslash into Excadrill. We're going to see a safe switch to Dragapult. Opponent responds with their own, and the opponent will have to commit the shield here. Breaking Swipe is no shielded trainer. What are you doing? Dragapult is so glassy, you cannot under any circumstances no shield a Dragon Claw on Dragapult. The opponent just loses the full Dragapult instantly there, and now it's Azumarill being able to pick up the knockout onto the Excadrill. In the back is Turtonator, and this game is not yet over. The opponent was so strong, ABA strong into that Sandslash, that this game is by no means done. Azumarill is going to commit the shield. Opponent is going to go for a Dragon Pulse bait. Dragon Pulse, of course, would be double resisted. Going to fire off an Ice Beam. Ice Beam is going to be hitting for neutral damage. Opponent more than happy to let that go. Potentially building up to the Play Rough there, because Play Rough does do more damage. Could have been a slightly better play. Opponent still going for the Dragon Pulse. They don't want to debuff themselves, but it turns out Jay's able to make another Ice Beam. This Ice Beam is going to force the final shield from the opponent. There's the switch to the Sandslash. Sandslash able to get the farm down, and against all odds, secure the win. And it looks like that is a 5-0 set from Jay, so very nicely done. We move into set number 2, and it's a bad lead. Alolan Sandslash versus Shadow Dugtrio. The save switch to Dragapult answered with Azumarill, and Azumarill down this much energy is going to struggle severely against Dragapult. If Dragapult lands a Shadow Ball here, then things get really awkward for Azumarill. Opponent realizes this, and they will give up the first shield. But Dragapult's more than happy to shield up the Ice Beam. It does have the pacing advantage due to the energy lead. Going to overfarm and play to the CMP tie. Can Azumarill hang on here? Shadow Ball from Dragapult. Oh no! The Azumarill survives on 1 HP. Devastation there, as now both shields have been removed from the field of play. Back in comes Dugtrio. Dugtrio looking for the farm down. Dragapult is going to make the Breaking Swipe. This is not going to hit for super effective damage, but it sure looks super effective. In the back is Rapidash, and Rapidash always a bit of a tricky Pokemon to see, because they can run a lot of coverage moves here, sending in the Sand Slash. They have high horsepower. Oh no! Oh my goodness, losing the Alolan Sand Slash in an instant, a one-hit KO. Ice Beam into the Rapidash is going to force the opponent's final shield. Are they double nuke? Do they have Wild Charge? No, they're going for another high horsepower. That high horsepower still does a ton of damage to the Azumarill. Azumarill, however, says no more. Ice Beam KOs the Rapidash. In comes Dugtrio. Can Dugtrio pick up the knockout here? Mud Bomb. Azumarill tanks on 1 HP again. It looks to be a very high rank Azumarill, and it's paying massive dividends. Bad lead, leading the Sand Slash into the Turtonator. We're going to see a safe switch to Dragapult. Opponent does end up throwing on alignment, so Dragapult does get an Astonish for free. Dragon Pulse is going to be shielded. There's a switch out into the Azumarill. Azumarill going to be immediately met with the Shadow Ball. Even though Dragapult does have an energy advantage here, the difference from the previous games is Dragapult was down a shield. And down a shield, this matchup is a lot worse. So just going to fully sacrifice the Dragapult and now just bring back in the Sand Slash. Sand Slash would love to try and exit this matchup with some energy. Drill Run will do some very solid damage onto the Azumarill. The opponent already showed Ice Beam, and in the meta where Azumarill is on almost every team, you're never going to sacrifice Play Rough, so they won't have Hydro Pump here. We see a switch by the opponent, sending in Turtonator. And now Turtonator is met with Azumarill. Turtonator can run the coverage move of Flash Cannon, but they are not running it. Instead, they will just go for Overheat. Bubbles actually don't do a ton of damage to Turtonator. They only hit for neutral, and Turtonator does have some very, very solid stats. Ice Beam will pick up a KO. In the back is Ferrothorn. This is very, very bad news for the Azumarill. However, this is great news for the Alolan Sand Slash. Opponent is going to look to massively overfarm. They could have even done one more there, but instead, they are going to deliver a knockout, and now it's all up to the Sand Slash, and this is a moment where having that extra Ice Punch damage will be quite nice. The Ice Punch is going to land, and it looks like after landing the Ice Punch, the Sand Slash should be able to get a farm down. Ferrothorn goes for a Thunder. We should see a switch out here into the Azumarill, and they will go for it, but the Sand Slash gets the double up, and that means this game is over. Ice Punch is going to be shielded. It's a CMP tie, but Azumarill does not win it. Ice Punch will KO the Azumarill. Back in comes the Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn is going to get farmed down, and Alolan Sand Slash is just disgusting in this cup. Oh my goodness. Sand Slash cannot escape the Turtonator leads. We're again going to see a safe switch out of here, this time into the Dragapult. Dragapult is going to fire off that Breaking Swipe, winning the Charge Attack priority tie over Turtonator. And now, Dragapult is not going to be at a shield disadvantage once the opponent switches out. Dragon Pulse is shielded. There's the switch out into Galarian Stunfisk. Stunfisk just going for a Rock Slide. This might KO here. I mean, it's non-stab, but Dragapult is super glassy. Dragapult surviving with fractional HP to get that Shadow Ball, and that deals big damage to the Stunfisk. In comes the Alolan Sand Slash. Alolan Sand Slash just fails the farm down. Stunfisk barely able to make the Rock Slide, and that's a lot of health lost. Again, throwing one Shadow Claw and a switch out into the Azumarill. But this is going to be a tough game to win if the opponent has a very good Check 2 Azumarill in the back, which it would make sense if they did. Oh, they have their own Azumarill. Honestly, at this health disadvantage, this is going to be a very tough game to win, and the Sand Slash is low enough that it's not going to be taking a lot of Incinerates. It is already in the yellow. Opponent is going to be firing off the Play Rough. That's going to get the Azumarill deep into the red. Jay farms up, going for another Play Rough here, but I think this game is just not going to end in victory. It's going to be a very, very difficult one to play out of. Just fully letting the Azumarill go, going to try and sweep with the Sand Slash, but that's exactly what the opponent can do. Just send in the Turtonator, and Turtonator, by shielding, guaranteed lands that Incinerate. So even though the second Incinerate won't register, the Sand Slash is just too low now, and the Sand Slash should get bubbled down here. Sand Slash not going to make the drill run, forced to settle for an Ice Punch. Ice Punch did get a damage boost this season, but it's just not enough. Azumarill too bulky, and we see the first loss with the team. Hopping into the final match, and we see this matchup once again. The Alolan Sand Slash versus Azumarill. Sand Slash farming up, throws on not the greatest timing. That allows the opponent to switch out and catch onto a Flygon, but a Drill Run would still do a lot of damage, so Flygon still ends up shielding. And now Flygon's down a shield, it's up energy, but in comes Azumarill. Scorching Sands into the Azumarill gets an attack debuff, but an attack debuff does not save Flygon here. Flygon still getting KO'd by this Ice Beam unless they double shield, and they're going to do just that. Another move fired off by the Flygon. Another no shield by the Azumarill. Azumarill completely not worried at all. Azumarill farms up, throws on alignment, and gets punished for doing so. The opponent gets a catch and a sneak onto their Azumarill. Quick switch back into the Sandslash. So the opponent so far does not have an amazing response to a Shadow Claw Alolan Sandslash. Play rough from the Azumarill will be resisted, but at this point, keeping health on the Sandslash will be a priority. So Sandslash is going to commit the shield, and now pick up the knockout with the Drill Run. The opponent is not really going to want to send back in the Flygon. Instead, they're going to bring in a Fire Fang Mawile to get a farm down. But since they're on Fire Fang, they can't do much damage to Dragapult. I'll be honest, I don't know if Fire Fang counts, but this seems like they're not at enough for an Iron Head or a Play Rough. It is just going to be a power-up punch. Opponent switches out into Flygon. Flygon will fire off its energy, and that is going to grab a shield from Dragapult. Dragapult has so much stored energy here, firing off this Breaking Swipe. This is massive overkill onto the Flygon, and has this Shadow Ball loaded. So Dragapult doing way more damage than is required, but good news is, will end in a win. All in all, if you're looking to rank up in the Great League Fantasy Cup, I think this is a really good team to do so. And the nice thing is, it utilizes two Pokemon that are already very strong in the Open Great League, so there's a pretty good chance that most people have Shadow Alolan Sandslash and Azumarill already built. Now, Dragapult is a bit more difficult to obtain, just due to the fact that outside of the first event, where it was a bit more commonly spawning, it is definitely a pretty rare spawn across the board. But man, Dragapult just seems like an absolute force to be reckoned with in this cup. The Alolan Sandslash is so good in so many situations, but in the couple situations where it's not, Dragapult is just an absolute star at shutting down those other Pokemon. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.